So it seems apparent to us, that we have this will to spirit. We have this will to release. So I'll use the Latin. It's relegalia, which means to rebind, and so to reunite or reassociate. And the will to spirit, I think, is within all of us. And so again, I'm a non-theistic person in a technical sense. I don't believe necessarily, and I do this loosely, in a transcendent Sky Father that gets mad at me when I do bad things. I believe more in the philosopher's God, the God of nature. Yes. The panentheist is kind of where I settle in, and it's like the universe is God, and space beyond the or non-spatio-temporal bounds beyond the universe is what I would call God in that sense. And again, I use the term God very loosely.
Yes.
And it can mean whatever to the audience, it can mean whatever you want. So I think there is this relationship. And even if it's a hand puppet and it's imaginary, but if we put that value on that hand puppet and say, this is what I believe in, and this is what keeps me going and gets me up every day, and I believe, so if it's God Almighty, or if it's a rock, or if it's a hand puppet, or if it's the universe, whatever it is that you feel like you're connecting with when you go beyond yourself, your ego and your family unit and the community you live in, and you want to feel good about your future and feel good about your existence, that I think is the will to spirit. So I'm writing a manuscript right now on, I originally called it Rethinking Spirituality, but I think I might call it Will to Spirit. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask a few questions in that book and get people to think about the way to have sort of a meta plan about spirituality. So a plan beyond or a way of thinking about spirituality before you engage in spirituality or religion. And it's not to dictate that there is a way, right? I just stay way the heck away from that for myself. Yeah. But it's more, again, it's that more the aboveness, which is meta, and meta is such a popular word now, but it means after or above. And so above the thinking that involves you're engaging in a spiritual practice, you step back and say, well, what is my practice, and what are my reasons for engaging? And so can I sort all these little details out so that I am doing the best practice I can, and I'm engaging with what feels natural to me and not something that was foisted on me by my parents, or so it's finding your space. And also another thing to be careful with when engaging spirituality is self-deception. So we engage in spirituality for less light reasons. We do it for escapism, or we do it for fulfillment, like to just, like we feel like we're soliciting and petitioning. We want to manifest, and we want, this, whatever. And that is no harm. There's certainly no foul in that, but it's like, be sober and aware that, you are in a territory when you engage, just like in a dialogue, you're in a sacred space. And so make sure your intentions are pure and you're not just doing it for some, ego-based thing or so anyway, it's just a way of just, no matter your belief system, to just check in and make sure you're practicing it in a way that is going to give you a good outcome and it's going to work for you. So in other words, there are people who may be practicing a particular type of belief or whatever, and they're still dealing with stuff, and they're still frustrated, and they're still not feeling fulfilled inside, or whatever it is that seems like it's not working. This is just a tool in a toolbox of many tools that might help with that. And so that's my highest aspiration, is that it's just one element that can be applied to the journey and the process. And it's not meant to point to, because again, that's why I said what I said earlier. I'm an agnostic. I just don't, latch on to anything too hard. Yeah. And that gives me the freedom to then ask these sort of outside questions, the meta questions, like, okay, so, what is spirit? What is ensoulment? What is, what could be divine? What could be transcendent? What could be miraculous? What could bring us joy and happiness? And how do we deal with suffering and misery? And we shouldn't try to escape suffering and misery. That's why I say, escapism can be dangerous in spirituality, because you engage in a practice that you try to avoid this. And it's called the cult of innocence. It's where you only look to the light. You only look to the light. And so Carl Jung talks about the shadow, and you have to make sure that shadow doesn't build up too much behind you or around you so that you snap one day.